fell in love with it, and I still, in my mind, thought I was going to go back. And by the time like August came around, he like my boss and the other creative executives were like, hey, like we feel like you actually really are good at this and enjoy it. Would you want to maybe stay? If so, we can get that process going for you to actually become like our coordinator. But that's only if you want it, because once you say yes, there's no backing out.
Right. Jesse, how are you doing?
I'm okay, man. I'm a little tired. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning last night.
Is there a reason for this? I feel like there must be. That's not a...
Not a traditional. I normally go to bed at like 9:30 in the morning or 9:30 at night. But I know. My girlfriend's friend is now one of the like girls on Netflix's Too Hot to Handle.
Okay.
And so essentially we did like the watch party last night.
Oh, okay.
Where I watched 5 hours straight of this show, which was like, and I don't watch any I don't watch any TV in general, as you know, but I really don't watch reality television. So I spent up until 3 o'clock in the morning watching people make out with each other and yell at each other.
Well, one of them is there. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. That was my night. So, but how about you, man?
My night last night. What did I do last night? Oh, yes, completely different from yours.
Of course.
I play D&D. My last session, I'm a DM in my D&D game. Do you play D&D?
What is D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons. It's like super popular these days. I started playing in 2017.
It's a video game?
No, well, no.
I should know this.
I know. There's no should. It basically, D&D is role playing with your friends, and I love it because it's just paper and dice, and it's essentially sort of the precursor to a lot of like RPG games, role playing games. And you play character, like I'm DMing this, which means I am sort of like the render engine for the game. Like say you're like, there's like a dragon coming at you or something like that, and there's a bridge, and you're trying to jump across the bridge or something like that as it kind of opens or something like that. You roll the dice, and depending on some things that I do on my end, I can tell you like whether or not you make it, right? So it's like one of those games that's really fun to play with friends, especially creative friends, a lot of writers, directors, actors.
Is it like a Call of Duty where you're playing with people online that you...
Well, you can play online, but really it's like you're literally around a table usually playing it. But you can
like
play...
a board game.
Sort of like a board game, yeah. It's sort of like a little bit more. It's a very IRL. I like it when it's an IRL kind of experience in the room with people. Like a character that I played a few years ago that I love. His name was Eckart, and he had like a German accent, and he was very aggressive, and he was a wizard, and he was this very angry person, And then you get to role play these characters. I wrote a backstory for him, and
I love this.
There was a part
like
of me that was
dream.
Like and a director's dream and a writer's dream. Like there's so many great materials that happen, and.
They made a big studio movie about this.
Oh, yeah. And I think they're going to make a second.
But yeah.
Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro. And I believe that Wizards of the Coast is actually very profitable for them.
It's amazing.
They're now 50 years old, 2024. This year, I think they're going to be 50 years old. And I think the last few years have been their like biggest years in terms of business. They're so popular. Stranger Things, the podcast, Critical Role, which is like they're basically like playing D&D live in stadiums all over the world. I think it's pretty insane.
So wild.
So yes, I have a game that is ending next Tuesday, and the final session, the big climactic session. So I was just preparing pretty late for my standards.
Like this is VJ's fantasy, and I don't do it. I'm not a sports guy either, but this is like your fantasy.
Yeah, this is my fantasy game. It's essentially it's the Gilded Age, New York City, but with like gothic horror vampires. Hey guys, my name is VJ.
Hey guys, I'm Jesse.
And welcome to What is Hollywood, the show all about what it takes to thrive in our shifting entertainment industry.
And today we have our guest, Ed Telarroja.
So guys, how's it going?
And I'm going to read Ed's bio, which I'm reading off my cell phone, so bear with me, everyone.
You feel like you know it by heart.
And by the way, this is very long. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut this.
I think it's like 5 sentences, and I was like, yo, how do I just put everything into like a tiny little synopsis, which is awful.
Ed Telarroja, a law school dropout turned entertainment talent booker and producer who built his career leaning into the interpersonal skills and mantra of, quote unquote, I'll just figure it out. From his days at NBC helping develop reality TV shows such as World of Dance, Songland, The Titan Games, Bring the Funny, and That's My Jam, to Paramount as talent relations executive across kids, family, and Gen Z programming, And in his current role as the lead talent booker and partnership executive at LeBron James's The SpringHill Company, where he leads the booking across their talent tentpole series, The Shop, and other branded series within their ecosystem. Very cool, man.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
Honestly, it's super condensed, but I feel like it was like a train wreck for all of us to get to that point. Like I feel like the way we navigate that, but it's fun and it's a fun journey for all of us.
Yeah. So tell us about your journey. So you went to law school, you dropped out.
I went to undergrad to I grew up in a small town in like the Inland Empire, which is like only an hour outside of LA. But basically I was dating someone long term, college, like little Christian college, called like Azusa Pacific, like God first, since like 1899 is like their mantra, which by the way, incredible school, very small. I think it's an NAIA college, but loved it there. But I always thought I was gonna like stay locally. So local college, was like dating the woman I thought I was probably gonna marry, local law school, like a small law school in Orange County that I was like, I don't want to go anywhere else. Like got into other schools across the country, but I was like, oh no, my family's here, my friends are here, my partner's here. Like if I leave, it's a tough 3-4 years. Is what's gonna work out. Am I gonna miss my family? Never moved away from home at that point, like away from my city. So yeah, so I ended up doing a local law school. After 1 year, I think the show that I think I always go back to is like Entourage. Like I think when I was 13, it came out, like 13, 14. So I always, the back of my mind was like, oh, I'm gonna be a lawyer, but but maybe I can go in like entertainment law or like do contracts or like negotiate the deals for films and TV shows or music or something. And I think I just had that in the very back of my mind where it pretty much died. But I was like, maybe after law school if I meet the right person. And I had introed with someone who who was the head of the studio, which Fernando back in the day, who he ran like the pod deal with you guys from Marlin. My best friend from high school I played baseball with, it was like his second uncle who was like a distant uncle, but even though he worked in creative at NBC's creative studio for Universal Television, he actually was a lawyer as well. So as this is like January, February of my law school year. I'm like, hey, can I want to take meetings with people who do different things across like contract law, tort law, IP, medical, entertainment. Like I wanted to just meet with everybody just to kind of get an idea of when I get out of here, what do I want to do? And ended up meeting with him, and the meeting got pushed like 4 months, which I feel like in our industry is like, it's just the norm of like people at that level where they're like, oh, we're going to reschedule, and 3 weeks out they reschedule. Of course I'd have class and stuff. So didn't work out. And then the week I actually finished my 1L year, and I was like, going to go start at a law firm in my hometown for like just a law firm I had interned for during college. I ended up meeting with him, and it's just a normal meeting. He talks about like, I work in creative, blah, blah, I'm on the lot. Like it's like magical to be like on the lot as someone who loves TV. 30-minute meeting, I leave and I'm like, I'm never gonna speak to this guy again. Like I will physically never speak to this guy again. And like super cool. Like, I love the way he talked about law, how he pivoted to entertainment, and he just kind of said, when you got to law school, give me a call. If I know anyone on if you want to be an agent or go on that side, or if you want to talk to some lawyers at NBC, like I can connect you to some of the legal team who does that stuff, just if you're interested. And left, took me 2 hours to get home in like 5 p.m. traffic, which was awful. And then, just forgot about it. And then started the law firm like that next day. And then a day later, I get a phone call, and it's him at like 8 a.m. And he's like, hey, so my assistant got fired by HR because he was apparently falsifying his hours. He's like, and I know you're on summer break. He's like, I know you want to, maybe talk to more people that are entertainment agents or people who are managers or like our business affairs people. He's like, if you're on he's like, if you want to do it for the next like 2 months before you go back, it's a quick little job. Just be my assistant. You'll talk to all the lawyers, all the managers. He's like, you'll talk to so many people so quickly. It's just a good way to build your network. Go back to law school and then live your life. And I'm like, okay, great. And that's where I think I met Jesse that summer. And then from there ended up just falling in love
was like
with
your
it.
foot in the door kind of moment, right? Like, so like that was sort of like, oh, this is like the opening you had to get in the entertainment industry.
And it was just a summer thing. Like I figured it was just 2 months from June to the top of August, go back to law school, tell her when I had a job in entertainment for a summer.
Right.
It was better than me making. I think I was interning for free for this law firm, so I was really making negative money living off student loans to work at this law firm, and they were offering me like $18 an hour to be his assistant with overtime, and I was like, you know what, like it's money in my pocket. I'm not like just like hemorrhaging more and more in student loans from like undergrad and from law school because it's not cheap, and and it ended up just doing it, and after 2 months, kind of just I fell in love with it, and I still in my mind thought I was going to go back, and by the time like August came around, he like my boss and the other creative executives were like, hey, we feel like you actually really are good at this and enjoy it. Would you want to maybe stay? If so, we can get that process going for you to actually become like our coordinator, but that's only if you want it, because once you say yes, there's no backing out.
Right.
Called my law school, like went through all that process of like, should I do it? Can I take a year? Can I just do a year break and then I come back for my 2L year and just to get the experience? What if? And my family was very against it. I mean, like I grew up Cuban and like my mom was like the breadwinner and the hard worker, and we had 6 kids. So it's like, and plus '08 was rough for everybody and everyone in the industry. So there wasn't anything really to kind of lean into. So my mom was very hesitant about like, don't jump ship just because it's entertainment, it's shiny, and there's celebrities on the lot and stuff. Like, focus on the law. It's a good career. It's stable. It's solid. It's like, I think any minority family is going to tell you like stick to that. Like, you have to. And I kind of just said, when else am I going to get this shot to ever just do this again? And even if it doesn't work out, I'll just go back to law school, and I got to be like, guys, like, for your dad for 1 year worked in entertainment, like, and I got to like see random cool celebrities on the lot. Like Marlon was always coming to the office for stuff because we were shooting with him and other people from shows that we were doing. So yeah, it turned in from something short term to just falling in love with it and just going from there.
All right, so you started working there at NBC Universal, and then how did you shift to sort of where you are now, which is like a little bit more sort of like on the digital side of things, right? Going from a super traditional company to something that's a little bit more, like tell us about that journey.
I mean, it's funny because like I think at NBC I was a coordinator, it's like you always started like, I think the best part about entertainment is that you start everyone at the same level, like, as an assistant at an agency, at a network, at a studio, for a producer, for a director, and you kind of just learn. It's very Socratic, and where you're just seeing everything, you're on all the calls, you're doing everything. And I just I started there as a coordinator, worked my way up to a creative executive, and basically my sole job was just like come up with new segments for shows that were already existing, come up with new IP. And I specialize in reality TV, so I worked for Universal Television's alternative studio. So so it was just nothing but like unscripted programming, like big shiny floor formats. We sold, at that time I think it was strictly internally, but then later on when I was there, it started pivoting to like more across the entire industry and trying to sell to everybody. And it was great. It was a great experience. But the one thing I didn't like was like I sat in a room all day long, just coming up with stuff, tweaking things. If someone, it's so subjective that people would be like, oh, I don't like that one way in for like act 2, and I'd be like, okay, like, and then you come up with 10 other ones, and they'd be like, actually, you know what? Let's go back to the original way, and I would just get so frustrated, like sitting there and being like, this, like, I already thought through all those things, like that's why this one makes sense. And then of course, but at the end of the day, the buyers are going to buy what they want. Like the heads of the studios, they have their own tastes, and their own ideas of what they want content to lean into. So you're just throwing stuff at a wall. And praying to God something happens. And luckily I was able to work on a lot of really great shows that were getting made for NBC Universal at the time. I mean, like what he mentioned, like Titan Games, I was with like Dwayne Johnson, and I got to work on Hollywood Game Night with like Jane Lynch and some great producers there, and then also doing World of Dance with J-Lo and like Derek Huff, and going to Bring the Funny, where got to see my boss, who's like still one of my mentors to this day, where he actually was the one who went to Just for Laughs, like the comedy festival, loved it, and then came back and was like, I had this idea. And we just started building it out, and then like figuring out sample casting across all the ways that worked. And that was like the nitty gritty of the things I liked, of like how you pieced it together. But then you would just sit in like development hell or 7, it's so slow on film and TV. So it's, you'd be maybe working on 50 to 100 things at a time. And like maybe one thing has like a development deal, something sold, something has a pilot, something has like maybe a full series, or something's coming back for another season and they want to tweak stuff. Or it was just always just so much waiting, I just hated sitting around. And maybe it's because of like growing up the way we grew up with technology and stuff, or like ADD or anything. But eventually I just kind of realized I didn't want to just be sitting here doing that. And of course by 2020 the industry was changing, where like digital is becoming more prominent, like YouTube. I mean, YouTube had already been big, but like people were doing more shows on YouTube. Influencers were kind of like becoming a real thing, like around like 2017, 2019, like the OG people. And so I always kind of kept asking, like, why can't we just take these formats that don't sell? Or if you guys tell me they're like, my favorite thing I ever got from like pitch feedback was like, it feels like it's a segment of something bigger. And I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean?
So you were in alternative programming, and you sort of saw what's happening in it, and couldn't be like, like I want to be part of that, and also how can I bring that into what I'm doing with these other bigger companies? That's very smart.
And do short form stuff. And I was like, why can't we do more short form? Like, why can't we sell stuff to Instagram or to like Meta, who's doing stuff for Facebook? Well, I think they had Facebook. I'm not sure if Facebook Watch had started yet, but people were putting shows on Facebook, and all over the place. And there was like Netflix was bubbling up, and like some of the other ones were kind of starting to get steam. And so I kept asking, like, can we just do like these short form things? Can we bring in more talent that made sense that were like more younger or maybe didn't appeal to like, traditional, like, because broadcast is very much like 18 to 49.
Right.
Like they always call it like the 3 or 4 generation couch of like, how do you get the kid, the kid, the parent, the grandparent, and like the great grandparent all on the couch together? Like, what are they going to watch together? And you have to appeal to, you can't just appeal to the coast. You have to appeal to like random states and the demos there. It's why like CBS always kills it with like their programming, because they appeal over 50, but they appeal to like very just people across the
White
country.
women that are 45 years old living in
So
middle
bad.
America.
But like
that's
look at
the core demo
Yellowstone.
of
Like look at
CBS.
Yellowstone with Paramount and all those shows. I mean, like the procedural shows. I mean, SVU is like the longest running show still going on, and people love the comfort of that stuff. And I think I wanted to bridge out, and like I feel like the winds were changing, and I just didn't know how to pivot that. And and also the one thing I was actually really I had to learn, because I just realized it was a skill, was like learning how to make pitch decks, because we were coming up with content. People had to build those pitch decks, and of course, like it had to look a certain way. You had to have, it was formatted so perfectly of like how to draw people in, like what was your hook, like how you broke everything down.
It's a skill set. It's an action art form.
And I didn't know how to. I mean, I didn't know how to do presentations out of college, even law school. Like when I got to NBC, I never used a Mac before. I was on like a Microsoft like little laptop for law school, because they said it made more sense. Get to NBC, have like a MacBook, have to learn everything. But then, people started doing decks, and I started just going, I'm gonna take a graphics design class and like just start buying design books and trying to understand like why these things are made. And also we hired designers who like they were making a ton of money, and I was like, maybe as like a side hustle I could learn this and start, maybe on the side helping people build pitch decks or building decks for like their own companies or whatever, or anything else for like VC stuff. Because like back then that was like the end of the Silicon Valley bubble too, of like everyone was selling 30,000 apps like every single day. So I was like, I can get in on that, like just helping them make those decks and make some extra cash and help pay my rent, whatever, and just be young in LA when we were just so poor and not making anything. So yeah, I ended up doing that, but I ended up realizing getting really good at building decks actually got me into rooms with people I wouldn't be in realistically. Like I was at this time a coordinator, and even when I got up to like being an associate, when I first got promoted to like the executive level, that I started getting in rooms with like the presidents of NBC for unscripted, scripted, for like film, for marketing, for digital. I was in rooms all the time with like Jeff Shell and Steve Burke, who was his predecessor, and then like Bob Greenblatt, and like all these executives always have to build these presentations, and it's like you're always pitching your your strategy or updated stuff and all these decks. And so when people realized I had a knack for it and like actually got good at it, but not just theory and stuff, but you'd have people who are like the president of NBC alternative or scripted be like, hey, I want 3 slides, one about like something in this world, and like I need to look a certain way, and they would just give you like abstract words and ideas and just go, here's the 3 stats I need to have on there. How do you make it look visually appealing, and like just figure it out, and like can you add some fluff words in there to like give us like a better mission statement? And so I just sat with that and got really good at it. But then realized I just started sitting in these rooms and started hearing, which honestly I would never have heard it other way, because that's why I think I kind of started pivoting to like, how do I get to digital? How do I get to this world? Because I'm sitting there with these people who are like titans of the industry, and they're going, here's how the winds are changing, and I'm just sitting in a corner pushing,
CEO
pushing
of
next
Comcast,
slide.
NBC Universal.
Yeah, and I'm just pushing next slide, and I'm sitting there just hearing like an hour, 2-hour meetings of people who have been in it for 20, 30 plus years, brilliant, like have killed it in their job. So I just kind of always would sit there and just listen and click next slide, and then eventually, of course, as I'm building it, I had to like learn how to think like them too, because whatever appealed to them was how they wanted the presentations to kind of flow. So I started learning how are they thinking about this stuff? Like, why are they thinking this way when I'm building out these presentations? And it almost kind of became like I'm learning it, like I'm actually learning how to do like biz dev and like long-term strategy and like how to forecast stuff just purely by accident, just because I was like, I'm good at doing this, and I can learn this side hustle.
You were just in the room. You were in the room where it happened. You just learned from these people.
You just sit and shut your mouth.
Which is, I get it, all great. Talk to me about the pivot from NBC to then you go to Paramount, and what was the title at Paramount? What was the title? Because there's a point I want to hit on this.
Yeah.
Your title at NBC was development coordinator.
Well, it was like temp assistant, coordinator. I got promoted to associate, and I was associate of development, and then I was there. Yeah, I was an associate for like 1.5 to 2 years, and then that was right around 2020, 2021. And of course, COVID was happening. Everyone was kind of just like stagnating, working from home. And then, but I was like, I wanted to kind of shift to either like it was either scripted or go to digital and like develop and work with more talent, because I always had I always loved whenever people would be like, hey, develop something specifically for like Marlon. Like, and Marlon would come in and be like, oh, yeah, I'm really into eating healthy right now. I'm into like these random things. And you would just kind of shoot the shit and like hear what they were into. And then I would always get so excited to like go back and like start working on stuff, like little concepts and stuff like that. But also wanted to lean more on how do we do digital broadcast? I mean, it was even now it's what, NBC, CBS, Fox, I mean, CW and ABC. And it's like, they're only buying so many things from 8 to 10 p.m. There's only so many slots. And I felt like I couldn't compete with these producers and showrunners like the Mark Burnett's who like icons with all the shows they've made and all the new people coming up and when they were killing it and Netflix, all the people they had go over there like making all this new programming. I just felt like I don't want to sit here doing this for the next 30 years. How do I get to digital, more short form? How do I like play in that world more like the influencer side of like, like the next gen of talent, not just always going after, whenever we're building talent lists for stuff or like TV shows, and you'll be like, oh, Marlon, like, and you're going after like, like the Sean Hayeses, which by the way, hilarious and incredible people and like brilliant and everyone loves them on screen. But I was, we were 25, 27 years old and I'm like, dude, like I want to see like people my age, like getting these shows and we'd always be told like, oh, like, they're not big enough or like, we don't know who they are. And these are 50, 60-year-old TV executives who ran departments going like, well, I don't know them. And they'd come into a meeting someday and be like, oh, my kid's really obsessed with this person right now. Like, can you, like Liza Koshy, can you figure something out? And we'd be like, excuse me? Like, because your 12-year-old child told you they're a fan of that person. And all of us in this room are like hyper, focusing on people, what films are coming out, what TV shows, who's trending, who's not, who's off limits based upon like being in TV timeout. And so I kind of just grew frustrated and then ended up finding a job where a recruiter reached out to me actually and on like LinkedIn at all places. And I thought LinkedIn was like absolute trash, by the way. Like I just
really
didn't,
isn't.
yeah. It's like,
It's been trash for me. But
no, dude, no, LinkedIn's incredible. My
That's
last
not helped me at all.
my last 2 jobs have came from recruiters reaching out to me.
So the
being
job
like,
at
I gotta-
Paramount's title was what? What was
I
the
gotta-
title
so bad.
of
No,
the
but it was-
Paramount
but
job?
it was manager. Yeah, I went from associate
Of what division?
of talent. Yeah, so I went from development to talent for talent and programming and branded partnerships, and that's where I went from working with like broadcast TV people to working with kids, family, and like Gen Z influencer talent, which is like, by the way, a whole different world. Like I didn't know anything about influencer
Like
talent.
kids content.
Like so like like Ryan's World, like all the little kids. I get to anyone.
I worked at Pocket Watch for a while,
like,
which I don't know
geniuses.
if you worked with. Chris Williams,
All of
right,
them.
and all those people over there. Like they're pretty. Yes, and also I have a lot of mixed feelings about that part of the world because it's in 2019 the FCC finally got involved with like advertising.
The Diana
kids.
show. Can
The
we just have a
Diana-
moment about the Diana show?
All those shows.
The Diana show has monetized. So I sold my show to Disney Kids with Lawrence Fishburne, right?
Okay.
Disney Animation. The fee I make on that is pennies. Not going to go into it, but it's pennies. When I look at and I said, what's the most successful kid show on air? And I'm thinking I'm going to find it SpongeBob SquarePants, right? It's not SpongeBob SquarePants.
Which it is in terms of like the back end of what they're doing with TV and consumer products and all that stuff.
The monetization of the Diana show has surpassed it. It's at $286 million, and the price per budget of a Diana show episode when it started was $500. The price of my Disney animated kid show, $2 million an episode.
Oh my god!
Right, so you can make the, and that's like when I look at these content, right? The money has moved into this digital space. But remember, when he went to Paramount, the rest of us were, when he goes, oh, I'm going to do some digital, I'm going to like work with digital brands and influencers. And he was like onto something. The rest of us thought, oh, poor Ed, he's out.
Yeah, honestly, and I felt so different. I feel like I was like out of traditional media. I was like, oh, I'm going to like the dirty step cousin of content. Like,
Yeah, it
I'm
was
like
not
digital,
a sexy move.
digital and
It was-
influencers. Like no one cared
yeah.
about them.
And by the
Yeah.
way, like that's my world, right? Like
Yeah.
I started doing YouTube in like 2010, and I quickly realized, wait a minute, this is not just a stepping stone into film and television and traditional stuff. Like, no, I feel like this is going to, because like my audiences back then were like 15, 16-year-olds, and they were like communities, right? They were like powerful
Yeah.
That's why
communities.
VidCon became so big because it was
VidCon
like
was you. Yeah, exactly.
everyone came because they were like, I don't get to see this person anywhere else, and it was like, I mean, it was pure fandom because I used to go to them for work, and it was like I was always shocked by how many kids were, and less so about like I want to be a content creator, but more so like I'm obsessed with you. I just want to be around you, like you're like Taylor Swift at that point. It was
Right.
absurd.
But
So back then there was no-
like it was not cool. When
Right.
he first did
yeah,
it,
there was no
wasn't
money in it, right? Like initially there was no money.
Yeah,
in it.
No one,
because
no one
you
knew
just
there was
had
money
a
in it.
cap
No one
on
knew
it.
about that
no
money.
one figured out how to make
and,
money.
yeah.
And today he's like the people are like, how do I get into that? space, right? And it's like he's been in it. He was like one of the first people I knew to jump ship. Where now I would say most of our businesses trying to figure out how to get into that,
even talent,
into that
like
world.
reps, same thing. Like they always like when I went to Paramount, and when I told NBC about it, because of course it's like it's like the one thing I think I always learned about negotiating was always try to always parlay offers, because I knew I didn't want to stay at NBC, but I was like, oh, maybe if I just tell them like, hey, this is what I got from Paramount. It's the next up title. Like it was like a little bit more money. Like it was maybe like an extra like $7-8 grand. Like it wasn't much, but honestly, it was a shift to an area I wanted to go to, and that was way more valuable.
Right.
Than me being like, oh, I need an extra zero. It was like, I don't know anything about that world. Like the fact that they're even gonna give me a little bit more money, and like for me to just go and learn that is incredible. And I will say, I think I've been blessed with really good mentors at everywhere I've been, and I think I've also leaned into mentors, and like you just want to always like ask, like I want to like annoy you with questions 24/7. I want to just sit there, and also want to be like, but why are you doing that like that? Like, but why? But like, why does that make sense? Or like, when I'm throwing out people or ideas and they're going no, and they're giving me and I'm like, but I'm always like, but just give me a reason. I'm cool with it, but give me a reason. Like, I just, not even because I'm upset about you not liking it or that person, but tell me, just walk me through like your method. And then that's the best thing I think I learned about from law school is like, in class, you had to physically sit there, and every single day the teacher would be like, okay, who wants to, like that the case you guys read last night, like walk me through it. And you had to follow this process of like, okay, so here's the, and it was just, they call it like the Iraq method of like, the issue, the rule, analysis, conclusion. I'm surprised I even still know that, but like it forced you to go regurgitate what happened, and then you had to then walk through, okay, well, the case law based upon what we're learning is like saying all this. So it just forced you to do it. And if you ask the teacher like, oh, what's this? And he'd be like, well, you tell me, like, walk me through it. So it forced you to then keep analyzing and keep doing that. And I think that's why, like with Paramount, with NBC, and like all my mentors and everybody, I think I would are just really good people being in like those big meetings where even, when I ever say Jesse and I get to hang out with him, and I'll always ask him random things about like what he's doing with like theater or film or TV, and get his like thoughts about, like what's happening in your world, like why is it going that way, like what's shifting. And then like, I think he's been the most brilliant person where when he walked me through like your modeling style, when you had those like the bartender models and everything, like I was always so caught off guard because we were like little assistants, and he's like, oh yeah, I have this like blossoming business doing this. I came from here, and I think it just made me realize, oh, there's like I can also do other things. Like I could experiment in other ways, and I think it's what every good mentor's kind of done as well. And it's keeping your friends of people below you, at you, and also above you, and just always looking at everyone being like, I can learn anything from anyone. And like especially now with young people, like with influencers, like if I go to family parties, if I go to like events, and there's like people who are 18 to like 25 there, because I'm 34 now, I'll always ask them like, who are you into? What are you watching? Like, what shows you into? Who's your favorite? Like, if you open your Instagram, who's like top of your feed right now? Like, what's your Discover like? So I'm like, I know my algorithm's so different. And like you said with YouTube, we're like, everyone has such a different POV of what they're receiving and being bombarded with. And like, I don't know who's the hottest person. Like, I can Google it. Like, I could keep tracks of people, but like, at the end of the day, there's millions of influencers, millions of actors, musical artists, like athletes. Like, you can't keep track of them all. So it's better to ask everybody and go like, who do you like? And then I just digest that and go like, okay, like I'll look into it. Yeah. Yeah. But it's like that world of influencers is yeah, and especially for you, like in 2010, I mean, like, how has that shift been when you were going from like early creator in the early days of YouTube to like, oh, I could actually make a living doing this? Because I feel like that's been the hardest thing for influencers to even walk me through.
Yeah, and I have a question to piggyback on that. Is like, you got 1 million subscribers back in 2010 when you started this thing.
Yeah, like
right?
2013.
2015. Yeah. And then you rebuilt another channel with another 1 million subscribers.
Right.
Which time
almost?
was easy?
We're like 39,000 subscribers.
Yeah, or you're 30. Right, knock on wood. Everyone, he'll be fine.
Later this month.
Which time? Like, was it easier to get 1 million subscribers 8 years ago, or is it easier to get 1 million subscribers today?
I could have a whole TED talk about this, right? Because it's like culturally how to grow an audience on the internet. Maybe we should do an entire podcast episode just about that one time. But it's very different. I think the hard numbers has no, like back then, like I remember when like Freddie W passed 1 million subscribers in like 2011. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Was he the first person to break that?
I think he was one of the first channels.
Taylor
Freddie
Lorenz's
W.
book. I think she brought that up.
Freddie W was and he was my hero, right? I started making YouTube videos because he did the action videos, and I was like, "Oh, I can make musicals like that," because there's no one, free niche, or an available niche. And back then, it was a lot more. I think YouTube has a statistic back then, which was like if you make content regularly for about 4 or 5 years, like once a week, you're almost like 95% guaranteed, some crazy number like that, to have a sizable audience and community. What I find harder today, because so many more people are on there, sort of, is to build community, right? Like there are so many channels out there. Like getting 1 million subscribers or 1 million followers is actually not that challenging, I think. What I think is more challenging is to build the community that will actually care, right? Especially with the short form algorithms, like we have TikTok, you have Shorts, you have Reels, right? Like view counts is not that hard if you have good quality content. What's hard is to sort of like keep them as part of community, because they're interfacing with you a few seconds. They have a tiny little thumbnail right there, right? And then disappear. Versus in 2012, 2013, like it was a YouTube video. You had like 2 or 3 minutes, or maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
And you only
that
had
was
long
the
form. There was no
relationship.
shorts.
Exactly.
Audiences had like a longer bandwidth of their how much they were viewing content too, which that's like fragmentation of people's attention spans.
So that is very challenging today. Like how do you convert that to like a long form sort of community that is going to eat up anything you put out there?
Sure. It's almost like you were when you think about the earlier days, it's almost like you were just the creative, right? And then YouTube was like making the algorithm and figuring out how to maximize all the views for you. Where in the new medium, it's like you're making the content, and then you're also like the chief marketing officer and figuring out how to mass distribute this thing across all mediums, and having to learn about like the new trends of TikTok. And were you doing that when
that was also the case 10 years ago, like you had to do everything anyways. Nowadays at least we have better budgets to be able to hire people to help with stuff, it's like bigger companies are getting involved, like even like you were in Paramount, you were seeing, and you could see interest from their end too, to sort of bring in some of that talent.
Even because I think like with Nickelodeon and like Awesomeness and all, and like their programming for kids and stuff and family, like I think that's when I realized, the money in
going to shift.
And like, the way that it was shifting, and also like celebrities would be like, I'm gonna get this TV, my script has been picked up by NBC or Netflix or Amazon or Apple or like anybody, and it's like, cool, like you have like a step development deal, and like but if you're not getting the series, like it might just die. NBC did this great thing where they put you in like NBC school, and they had you learn every area of the business, like from like a 10,000 foot view, and they had like the heads of all of them come and talk to you. And the scariest stat that I actually love to this day is that like every year in pilot cycle, if you have 10 pilots, you're praying to God 2 of them go to series. You pray to God like 1 of them comes back for a second season, and you pray to God like, I think it was like, half a percentage, like half of that, or even like a tenth of that, made it to become like a global franchise, like an SVU, like a Good Place. All the like the Bachelor franchises, all those things. Like they were just going, hey, we're burning R&D nonstop, knowing we just need every year or 2, we just need one. Like we just need one format to blow up, like a Big Brother or anything for like CBS, or on like the scripted set, or like all the procedurals on CBS or Fox, or like The Masked Singer is like the biggest one over there now. It's you just need one of those, and that actually fuels like all your ad business. You generate all that revenue. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So this is something that I'm, and this is actually for both of you, right? So like I'm a YouTuber, I'm a content creator. I've really sort of like, I like to say, like when people ask me, what do you do these days? I'm a filmmaker and entrepreneur, right? And I'm sort of leaning in heavily right now my entrepreneurial phase to sort of build for myself my own company that I can sustain in the future, so I can be kind of like, away from the ups and downs of this traditional model. My curiosity is like, I sometimes wonder, I wonder when the traditional studios, okay, like NBC, Universal, Paramount, okay, do you think there's a time coming up, or if it'll never happen, where they will be making YouTube channels, right? So it's like, so you have like Mr. Beast, right? Jimmy Donaldson, right? You find a kid like that, right? And they're super intelligent, they're super sort of like focused, and they know what they want to do, and they pitch you a great idea, right? Like, at what point are you like, hey man, I could, instead of spending like $2 million, or that's even cheap for a television episode, right? Like, a couple $1 million of a television episode, like, let me put that into a yearly budget for this YouTuber, which a couple $1 million for YouTube is still, to this day, a lot,
crazy,
right?
Yeah.
When do you guys think we're going to see that? Because I think about that a lot, and I find that an interesting.
I find it fascinating. Do you want to go first?
No, you go first. Yeah, because I have a separate side of the answer. Yeah.
All right, my side of the answer, as a producer, I package and sell TV film. Right, that's to networks and studios is my primary business. Right, so I completely think this is going to happen, and I know it sounds crazy because I think a lot of people may not agree with me. But like, if you're Paramount, you've been for sale, nobody wants you. literally the only people buying you, you're a billionaire's daughter selling to another billionaire's son, right? Like, but no actual conglomerate making money wants to purchase you because your assets are worth nothing, right? So you look at the streamers, right? And if I'm Paramount, it's incapable. You do not have the funds to compete against a place like Netflix. It's impossible.
Right? But they don't have the funds either. I mean, they're always hemorrhaging money. I mean, like they're always just pushing all their debt to just down the road and like going, we're going to pay it off someday, and like they just keep adding to it. Like it's a tech industry.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
but if I look at it from the lens of Netflix is going to spend billions of dollars in content creation a year. All the other and a step further back, but I'll try to wrap it up in a second. But think about this: like Apple TV, it doesn't matter if Apple TV makes a penny because we all are sitting with iPhones in our hands, and that's why Apple has its money.
Right. Also, Apple's advertising.
Yeah, but Amazon, it doesn't matter if it makes a good TV show or movie on Amazon Prime because you want 2-day shipping, so you're paying for the membership fee as part of that, right? Yeah. So, but when you make content for content's sake, a la Paramount, right? And it doesn't have the theme parks or the merch that a place like Disney has, right?
Well, also NBC has the theme parks, plus they have the cable business. Like Comcast is the biggest cable provider in the country. Like that business is locked in, pretty much perpetuity at this point because we need the Wi-Fi to survive.
Right.
But I bring it up to say, if you are relying on content for content's sake and you don't have another means of making money, which a lot of these smaller mini studios don't, then the only way for which you could compete, because you're right, the average cost, a very cheap show is $2 to $4 million an episode. If you just turned around and created Paramount YouTube channel, hypothetically, right, or Roku YouTube channel, hypothetically, and instead of paying $2 million an episode, you give someone like yourself $20,000 an episode. Well, now the cost per entry in YouTube is going to go astronomically up. So you're going to see a big disparity between YouTube creators because the point of entry now got a lot harder,
right?
Which I think is going to limit the amount of YouTubers we would see, but the quality of content would go up astronomically. And now if I'm Paramount, I'm 100% back in the game because now I have more money to spend on content creation than your entire medium is used to.
Right.
If I'm playing in that pool.
Right.
But if I'm trying to compete against Apple and Amazon and Netflix, I don't even have enough money to keep my shirt on.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you're already seeing it with places like Tubi and Pluto. Those are simple aggregators, right? That's a YouTube for adults.
It's like Spotify at that point. It's like YouTube. Yeah, it's like you just put your music there and everyone gets to hear it.
Yeah, but they're licensing their libraries. Like Pluto is Paramount's back library, Tubi is Fox's back library. But now they're spending original money to make shows, but they're making them for a fraction of the budget. And I think that you're going to see, if I was them, I would be giving YouTubers money to go make those shows.
Hey Paramount, I'm available.
Right.
If you want a first look deal, we'll have a first look deal.
With Pluto, you should do it with Pluto.
Those are mostly gone. Like first look and raw deals.
Yeah, and what I love about these companies is like Anjali Sud is the new CEO of Tubi. She's 33 years old.
Oh, very cool.
Right, like that's amazing because when we were at NBC, it was Bob Greenblatt who was like
55
Bob,
already.
but he's 55 years old. Right, it's like you need a young person in those roles because they understand the viewership model. So I don't know. My 2 cents is I really hope they move into it. They haven't figured out how to really monetize it yet.
Right, because it's still early days.
It's still
like,
early
even
days.
like my channel, like it's like it's not crazy amounts of money, right? It's not like the kind of but if you have a sort of system, like I do think of Mr. Beast or a lot of those like channels that have like the Ryan toy reviews where you can have toys and that kind of stuff, and the Nickelodeon show is part of it as well, or like Diana, what's it called, the Diana
show.
Diana show. Like there's so many other businesses you can kind of integrate into that as well. It's so funny because I think a lot of content creators, like for me, I'm such a like a storyteller guy, right? And so like I just make my videos, and we lack some of the business development skills, right? Which so I was like, I think it'll get really exciting when someone like Paramount or some place like that, right, comes with sort of ability to sort of figure out like, okay, we can take your content and we can figure out all these different ways to sort of like turn that into like monetize that on the back end, whether it's like there's so many different ways, right? I think that will be when the sort of right crossover happens like that, I think it'll be very exciting.
It's gonna be super exciting.
Like for example, like Skibbity Toilet right now, as an example. Do you guys know Skibbity Toilet?
No, what's that one? I know like the what's.
I have no idea.
What's the like the toilet thing that they have, where it's like that commercial about that commercial about like the unicorn poops or something like.
I've
so-
never been on YouTube.
Okay,
I gotta go.
it's not. So Skibbity Toilet, I don't even know how to describe it, to be honest. You should look it up later on. It's basically like a massive narrative. Do you remember it was like a CG? There was like a guy in the toilet and he's like singing the Skibbity Toilet song and kids love it. Like if you're a boy between the ages of like 10 and 13 or 15, like, or 9 and 15, you're going to love this. And I think Adam Goodman with his sort of narrative films company, and Michael Bay,
No way, Michael Bay?
part of
yeah,
Skibbity
are
Toilets?
going to take it and they're going to franchise it because it's like basically, if you look it up on the internet, it's like these are episodes. There's like a massive war between like cyborgs and like toilet. I honestly don't know very much about it myself. I only recently like I'm not the exact demo for it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like very interested from a sort of business perspective once I saw that like Michael Bay and these people are getting involved. And yeah, they're going to take this like YouTube series and there's like war, futuristic war, and turn it into. And by the way, every one of these episodes gets like 100 million views.
And it's a
Or
YouTube,
maybe- or
is it
maybe
a
like 10 million views.
YouTube web series?
It's not even a
Or it's
web
like a-
series. I can't even. I guess it's a web series. It's just a series of videos. It's like a very large narrative between this like huge war. I'll show you some videos in a bit.
Are
when
the
you're-
budgets really
yeah.
high or are they small?
No,
No, you can't. There's no way.
There's no way. It even looks pretty cheap. It has sort of like a YouTube-y, cheapy kind of like. It's just silly. It's very silly in many ways.
Well,
But
honestly, that's the future of looks. Like I think the U.S. is the only country that has TV look the way it looks. Like
Yeah.
no other country has content. Like when you ever travel abroad, all their like top scripted, unscripted shows, they all look like they were shot at least in terms of like U.S. standards, like probably like 10, 15 years ago.
Terrible.
Like a lot more small productions. And it's something that I know like with Deadpool just about to coming out. Like Ryan Reynolds even talked about how he actually likes asking for less money than more because the more money you get, obviously the more stakes there are. Like,
Right.
and the more you want to lean into all this other stuff versus, like when Spielberg was doing Jaws, like the shark was broken 3/4 of the time. So they, instead of the shark always coming out and always moving around and having all this more interactive experience there, they had to kind of play into the narrative like we have to hide the shark.
The
Right.
only
And
thing
tweak the
scarier-
storyline.
and it
Yeah.
creates
Yeah.
and so and so now like exactly and now people like Michael Bay come in and Adam Goodman and they're gonna figure out like they have apparently like toy lines. I mean they're sort of floating a whole kinds of
Yeah, the CPG
amazing.
side, yeah, you have to at that
yeah
point.
like they're gonna franchise.
Wait
this
till you
into
see what
globally.
happens with the AI. I mean, what we were
Right.
talking about, my old company was, it's like, how do you make a show where, like, for example, we watch a show like Euphoria,
Right.
right?
Cool show.
And Zendaya becomes this huge, star. Is it Zendaya? Yeah.
Zendaya, yep.
Yeah, right. And it's like she gets this smart water contract for boatloads of money from that show, right? Well, what if I'm the producer of the show and the star of my show is an AI actress that I own? So when that smart water contract comes in, it goes to me. It doesn't go to the talent.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen. Mainly because I think there's going to be a cultural pushback to that stuff.
In
I
the
think,
United States. I think about this. You think like the Writers Guild and all we have to follow all these laws. Do you? Because guess what? I'm going to go, maybe me not personally, but filmmakers are just going to go make shows overseas, right? That are from overseas. And Netflix is going to go, hey, look, we didn't make this show, so we didn't follow any union guidelines. So, we can't have made this show, but we'll just license it here.
Right.
So
But
now
do you
they
think
have no-
audiences will have a bit of a pushback on that kind of stuff. Like for example, like the most derogatory sometimes like comments that I'll see on the internet. It's like, oh, this was made by AI, like which is sort of like a there's sort of like a cultural aspect of like, oh, this is not even. It's not about being good or bad in terms of production quality. It's more like this is not valuable to me. So it's clearly like, does that make sense?
That person is over 30 years old.
Maybe.
But I will
And
say,
they're
I
out.
think
I don't think
yeah.
a 12-year-old cares.
But I think
they're fired
people
up.
just don't want to be confused. Like I think if like I'm open to watching things that are AI, but I want to know from like the start. It's like, hey, this is an AI person. This is an AI series, or like just let me know. I'm like, just let me know. I'm like, it's like when you watch an animated show or film. Like I know it's animated. Like I want to just know what I'm watching is, just technology driven versus like people driven. Like that's why I think sports, like the rights packages for the NBA and the NFL and even like the WNBA, which like rightfully deserve it, and how soccer's going, and especially with like Messi getting his, like probably getting a big piece of that contract with Apple for coming here to Miami.
Enormous.
And yeah, but like he's actually getting he's probably getting back end of like the entire league at that
Absolutely,
point.
yeah.
Like you don't get the biggest athlete probably in the planet, like are one of the top 5 realistically, and not have those things. And I think that's why sports, people are leaning so much into them, especially the streamers are fighting for it. All the legacy networks are fighting for them, and the deals are all closing, and they're all like 2-3 times what they were the last 10 years they negotiated them. And rightfully so, is because I think the big thing is like it's real. Like I have stakes in the Olympics. I have stakes in the Lakers being trash this year, and like when they suck or they lose a last minute like nail biter. Like I feel that, but like why am I going to feel anything from AI? Like I want to am I going to see Meryl Streep again or any actor who like elicits a feeling because it's fake? Like I know, and I think it's maybe we will, but I think that humanness of content, like I think AI is going to be great, but also how do we keep like the human emotions involved? Because I think AI, at least at this point, they can't mirror that. And even with all the the like billions of ways they can like tweak your facial muscles on like with AI stuff and to make everything look like with Avatar, like look like it's you feel it. At the end of the day, like I'm still like I know I think I just want to like feel human emotion. Yeah, and that's why sports they're always going to bring that. Like sports will never upset people, make you happy, make you cry, make you nervous. Like, and I think that's what good TV and good film used to do. And I feel like hopefully we get back there. I love it.
Dude, thank you, man.
I love you.
Coming there.
Yeah.
Of course. Gratitude.
You sure? Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
All right.